The Wall Street Journal published an extensive investigation into child sex crimes happening by the hundreds of thousands, if not millions, on Instagram. So, why isn't this the top headline in every paper until it's fixed? Why aren't our legislators putting pressure on the parent company Meta and Jeff Zuckerberg to resolve this immediately? How were social media companies so good at shutting down things like COVID misinformation or election deniers, but can't seem to figure out how to protect our kids? I think this is one of the most important articles that has come out in quite some time. Like I said, it was in the Wall Street Journal, and the title is Instagram Connects Vast Pedophile Network. The Meta Unit system for fostering communities have guided users to child sex content. Company says it is improving internal controls. And so there was a group of 3 researchers who did all of this work and were able to uncover all of this. And one of the points they make is like, if 3 of us can dig up all of this stuff, how come Meta, a company with thousands and thousands of employees, can't prioritize this and like take care of this to actually protect our children? Let's read some of this. Instagram, the popular social media site owned by Meta Platforms. And, we started MetaChurch about 5 years ago. A year or so after that, Facebook changed its parent company name to Meta, which is kind of unfortunate with the amount of times we're going to say this connected to everything this is talking about. Just to say it, MetaChurch has no affiliation or connection to any of this, of course. Meta helps connect and promote a vast network of accounts openly devoted to the commission and purchase of underage sex content, according to investigations by the Wall Street Journal and researchers at Stanford University and the University of Massachusetts Amherst. Pedophiles have long used the internet, but unlike the forums and file transfer services that cater to people who have interest in illicit content, Instagram doesn't merely host these activities, its algorithms promote them. Instagram connects pedophiles and guides them to content sellers via recommendation systems that excel at linking those who share niche interest, the journal and the academic researchers found. Like I said, this should be the top story until it is absolutely eradicated. Like, no one should stop talking about this. And it got like a little bit of attention, a little sprinkle of attention the day that it came out, and then it was just over. And they go on to talk about how there are hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of these different accounts. Some of them purport to be children who are in charge of the account selling illicit images and videos of themselves to other people. Now, a lot of those are being trafficked, and the account is just set up to look like it's run by a child because that's somebody's fetish. Others are very clearly adults who have gained this material, who are trying to sell it. And the point of the article isn't just that it's on Instagram. It's that the algorithm of Instagram, which seeks to understand the behaviors of its users, will actively promote this to people once they start looking for it. There is a woman who runs an advocacy group trying to shut these things down. So she tries to find them and report them, and she's doing incredible work trying to help protect these children. But someone DM'd her, hey, you need to look at this certain Instagram account that was basically promoting the sexual abuse of very small children, like toddlers. And so she did the thing that she does, which is go in, report this, try to get it taken down. The next day, people who were going to her account were horrified when Instagram started pushing towards them in their suggestions. Since you like this page of this woman who is doing work to try and shut down these networks, since you've liked her page, it's suggesting to them things like incest toddlers. Okay. So they are pushing on Instagram about this, and Instagram's defense is something like, hey, we're working on this. But our algorithm is kind of hard to control. However, as the Wall Street Journal article points out, they have been able, when the matters are important to them or when pressure is put on them by legislators, they have been able to figure out how to significantly suppress other things on their platform. It says, in theory, the same tightness of the pedophile community on Instagram should make it easier for Instagram to map out the network and take steps to combat it. Documents previously reviewed by the journal, so they've looked into this, show that Meta has done this sort of work in the past to suppress account networks it deems harmful, such as with accounts promoting election delegitimization in the US after the January 6th Capitol riots. So, in other words, they've looked at this. This community of child abusers. They have figured out certain hashtags, certain emojis. They figured out how to interact with one another, and so it's massive in scope, but it's very tight knit in how they're using the algorithm in order to buy and sell and purchase and do all this, like literally the most horrendous things that you could do. So it's tight knit. It seems presumably based on how they've done this with people who were vaccine deniers and election deniers and all. They should be able to do this because they've done it before. Man, one of the craziest things, and I think they actually put an image on here that I'll show you. One of the craziest things is, okay, let's read this. In many cases, it says, Instagram has permitted users to search for terms that its own algorithms know may be associated with illegal material. In such cases, a pop-up screen for users warned these results may contain images of child sexual abuse, and noted that the production and consumption of such materials causes extreme harm to children. Then, this is crazy. The screen offered two options: get resources or see the results anyway. Here's an image of that pop-up that would come up. These results may contain images of child sexual abuse. Child sexual abuse or viewing sexual imagery of children can lead to imprisonment and other severe personal consequences. It causes extreme harm to children, and searching and viewing such materials adds to that harm. To get confidential help or to learn. Okay, so you're about to look at child sexual abuse. This is terrible. It can lead to imprisonment. It causes even more harm. See results anyway. Like, it gives you a button like, yeah, just see results anyway. So the algorithm, this is so frustrating to me. The algorithm knows what you're about to look at. Not just that it's illegal, it specifically knows somehow that you're about to view child sexual abuse. If the algorithm knows that, don't give them a pop-up where they can still go to it. Throw it off. Call the FBI if they're, going to do something about it. Like, do something. These are our children. Do something about this. So you get a pop-up that says, what you've searched for is child sexual abuse. It's absolutely heinous. You're going to burn in hell for this. Get resources or see results anyway. I don't know. I don't know the law behind all this. Someone should be held responsible for that button that says see results anyway. Now, the article does say, once these researchers at Stanford pushed them on this, then they removed the see results anyway. Why did professors have to come in and lead you to the conclusion that when you know there is exploitative child sexual abuse on your platform, why did someone have to hold your hand and say, maybe you shouldn't let them view that? Maybe you shouldn't have see results anyway on there. Since your algorithm obviously knows what they're searching for, throw their account into the depths of the sea, right? We know how harmful all of this technology is for kids. There is so much. The Royal Society for Public Health in the UK, they revealed that Instagram is the platform with the most negative impact on young people's health. Pew Research Center found that 59% of US teens have experienced some form of online harassment. The research just goes on and on and on. We know how devastating this is. What a lot of parents don't know is that there are people who are actively trying to find your kids, to groom your kids, to get dirt on your kids, to blackmail your kids. What a lot of people don't know is that the cartels have infiltrated social media sites, especially like Instagram and Snapchat. They have people who are professionals at this. They know the psychology behind it. They pose as someone else. They get a slightly illicit image of your kid. They tell them that if they will meet up with them, they'll delete the picture. And then they kidnap them and traffic them. Horrible, freaking things are happening on here. And I don't know if it's probably due to profit and money. I don't know why. I don't know why people aren't up in arms about this. I don't know why our Congress isn't doing more about this. But this is horrible. This is a problem. This this document shows, in the hundreds of thousands, if not millions of accounts of children. This is what Jesus said. Whoever causes one of these little ones who believes in me to fall away, it would be better for him if a heavy millstone were hung around his neck and he were drowned in the depths of the sea. Drowned in the depths of the sea. Jesus, who is like known for love, compassion, being there for the least of, Jesus is like, if you mess with the kids, then you should just be killed gruesomely. That's what should happen to you. These are the most innocent, the most vulnerable among us. And so who's going to stand up and advocate for our kids? Because social media sites aren't going to do it. They have a conflict of interest, so many conflicts of interest. Our legislators aren't going to really do a whole lot about it. I really do believe that parents are the first and often the only line of defense when it comes to our children and social media. Parents are the first and usually the only line of defense when it comes to our children and social media. And here's what happens. Your kid turns 11 and all their friends have a smartphone, and so they have to have a smartphone. And they will bother you until you get them one. And you just hand them the world, just totally unrestricted. The average age of exposure to pornography is like 10 years old, and it's just getting younger. Hardcore pornography. They're getting on social media sites. 59% of teenagers are being harassed. We know it is leading to isolation and loneliness and depression and anxiety. We know that suicide among young people has just skyrocketed, and you can trace back this watershed moment to the introduction of the mass smartphone market. Your kid turns 12 and they have to have an Instagram account, and we just cave. We're the only line of defense keeping our kids from this stuff, and we just cave. We don't monitor it. We don't keep an eye on it. I want to tell you about an incredible resource. It's called Brave Parenting. And Brave Parenting, this is a couple that Katie and I have known for quite some time. Their website is braveparenting.net. And they just have podcasts. They have app guides. They can help you with any of the apps that are out there to know what they are, to know if your kid should have it. This, under the blog, parental control resources for iOS, parental control resources for Windows and PCs. You may not know this, but there is like an almost infinite number of ways to lock your kid's smartphone down, especially if they have an Apple iPhone. And you should be doing that. There are incredible apps and resources out there like Bark, B-A-R-K, something that we have on our kid's phone that just monitors every single thing and sends you reports of every single thing they might be doing on there or seeing on there. If they try to download an app that you don't want them to have, your kid doesn't need social media. Probably no one under 18 years old needs social media. I mean, it is lighting up the same areas of their brain as hardcore drugs. And we're just giving it to them and letting them spend, 75 hours a day on it. We are the first and often only line of defense. Romans 12 says, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Your mind is the starting place for sanctification. Your mind is the starting place for who you're becoming, for who God is calling your children to be. If we're not protecting their minds by keeping them off of social media, by monitoring their social media, by knowing what's going on, by understanding what's out there, then we're dropping the ball. We are not helping our kids to be able to thrive. This article by the Wall Street Journal, it should frankly terrify us that this is not only happening, but that it's happening at this level and that no one seems to be doing anything about it. My prayer is that people will be held to account for what they're allowing on these platforms and for knowing and not putting the full resource of their companies behind this. There is nothing as important as protecting our children. Parents, you are the first and often only line of defense when it comes to your children and all of the things that there are on the internet and social media. And it's time that we take our God-given place, that we stand up to their whining and complaining and begging. And all of my friends have this. It's your job as a parent to say, I don't give a crap. I'm not their parent. I am your parent. Here's how we're going to do things. You're not going to like it, but at 30 years old, you're going to come back and you're going to thank me.